you have any for youngsters on conservation of our fisheries? Well, yeah, you know what? Like, here's the biggest thing is with conservation. Um, yeah, one of the biggest things is like, even for me, like I teach ethical angling. I try to practice ethical angling, but year to year, day to day, like I learn new things that, and I change my attitude about it. I don't go in there with like the blinders on. I have an open mind to what's right and wrong. And so when we went out to Saskatchewan with the show to the Queen City X, and I was talking to a biologist there, and this was, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. And
Okay.
so when we went out there, I was talking to a biologist, really good guy, and he was talking about how when fish spawn, especially bass in particular, that like a 2 pound bass compared to a 4 pound bass, that
Mhm.
4 pound bass will spawn and do 10 times the amount of eggs as that 2 pound bass would. And so even for selective harvesting, when I was growing up, my dad would always say, well, if it's over 2 pounds, you keep it. And his theory was, well, there's more meat on there, right? But
Mhm.
even when we caught like a 4.5 pound bass, we would keep it because it was over 2 pounds and we wanted to have food. And we didn't keep all the over 2 pound bass, or it was only when we wanted to have food. We would, all right, we're going out, we want to eat something, we're going to harvest a fish. So if it's over 2 pounds, we keep it. Nowadays, because of that whole biology and that theory of the 4 pound bass doing 10 times the amount of eggs as a 2 pound bass would. Now, instead of keeping any 4 pound bass or even over three, I'm letting them all go no matter what. And I kind of created my own little slot limit where it's like 1.5 pounds to 2.5 pounds. And even rather than keeping bass, I like to keep even the rock bass more often, right? Just
Yeah.
because I just want something tasty, or perch, even some pike. Sometimes they're a little bit more difficult to fillet, but there is a proper way to do it without getting the Y bones, right? But
Mhm.
selective harvesting is something that sometimes it's important. Sometimes lakes are overfilled with certain species of fish, and they're overtaking lakes. So harvesting fish is a good thing to manage those places, those lakes
Yeah.
and ecosystems, right? So yeah, a big thing too for any kids want to learn about conservation is get involved with your local conservation authority. Volunteer your time. They were always looking for volunteers for different events. I just volunteered my time in the winter at Credit Valley at Island Lake, where they had learn to fish program, ice fishing. So I was with
Okay.
a biologist from the CVC, John Clayton, who is an awesome guy, and we got groups in there, families in there, and we just gave them a quick lesson, and they got to try to catch some fish in the ice, right? So I
Mhm.
highly encourage that kids, if you and parents, get out and participate in their events, that whether it's planting a tree or helping the salmon get up the fish ladders. They need help, and it's a great way to get your nose in there and start learning. And then take the school aspect and go to a school that provides a good program for outdoor education, right? Like Sir Sanford Fleming
Yeah.
has a great program for fish and wildlife. So a lot of my friends have been there and are now working in the industry in some capacity, right? Whether it's biologist or enforcement or whatever, right? So get them
Mhm.
out there, right? And it's so
Yeah.
important, right, to our health. So